The rain hammered against the floor-to-ceiling windows of Cross Industries like angry fists demanding entry. Lightning split the Seattle sky in jagged lines, illuminating the city below in brief, stark moments. On the 40th floor, Sophia Chen sat alone at her desk, the soft glow of her computer screen the only light in the darkened office. Her fingers moved across the keyboard with practiced precision, but her shoulders ached. She had been here since 7 in the morning. Now the clock on her screen read 11:47 p.m. The quarterly reports needed to be perfect before tomorrow's board meeting. Mr. Cross had made that clear with his usual cold efficiency. "Miss Chen," he had said earlier that day, not bothering to look up from his phone, "I need those financial projections updated and cross-referenced with the third quarter numbers. Every decimal point matters." She had nodded, as she always did. 2 years of working as Daniel Cross's executive assistant had taught her that words were precious commodities he rarely wasted. He spoke in commands, expectations, and occasionally barely audible thanks that felt more like afterthoughts than gratitude. The weight of invisible burdens, Sophia rubbed her tired eyes and reached for her water bottle. Empty. She had forgotten to refill it hours ago. Her stomach growled softly, reminding her that the granola bar she had grabbed from her desk drawer at 6 was her only meal since breakfast. The building felt different at night. During the day, it buzzed with energy, voices, the constant hum of ambition and success. Now it felt hollow, like a beautiful shell with nothing inside. The cleaning crew had finished their work hours ago. Even the security guard, James Mitchell, only did his rounds every few hours. Her phone buzzed with a text message from her sister, Emma. "Hey sis, how's the late night going? Mom made your favorite soup. I saved you some." Sophia smiled despite her exhaustion. Emma was a sophomore at Washington University studying art therapy. At 22, she still believed the world was full of possibilities and happy endings. Sophia had believed that once too, before life taught her that fairy. Tales were for people who could afford them. Their mother, Maria, worked 3 jobs to keep their small family afloat. Breakfast cook at a diner, afternoon shift at a retail store, and weekend catering gigs. Sophia's job at Cross Industries was the best opportunity any of them had ever had. The salary was good, the benefits excellent, and the work gave her a sense of purpose, even if her boss barely acknowledged her existence. The man behind the marble facade 5 floors above, Daniel Cross, stood in his penthouse office, staring out at the storm. The lightning reflected in his steel-gray eyes, giving them an almost ethereal quality. His black hair was perfectly styled despite the late hour, his charcoal suit unwrinkled. He looked like he had stepped out of a magazine cover about powerful men who shaped the world, but looks could be deceiving. Inside, Daniel felt as turbulent as the weather outside. The board meeting tomorrow would determine the future of his company's expansion into renewable energy. 3 years of planning, millions of dollars in research, and hundreds of jobs hung in the balance. The numbers needed to be perfect because there would be no second chances. He had built Cross Industries from nothing after his mother died when he was 25. She had been the only person who truly knew him, who saw past the walls he built to protect himself from a world that had taught him early that love was a luxury he could not afford. His father had walked out when Daniel was 12, leaving behind only debt and broken promises. Emotions are weaknesses, he had learned to tell himself. Success requires sacrifice. But tonight, something felt different. Maybe it was the storm, or maybe it was the nagging thought that he had not seen his assistant leave yet. Sophia Chen. He knew her name, of course, knew she was efficient and reliable, but he realized with uncomfortable clarity that he knew nothing else about her. Did she have family, hobbies, dreams beyond organizing his calendar and managing his meetings? When lightning strikes more than just the sky, the lights flickered once, twice, then died completely. The building's backup generators hummed to life, but only essential systems received power. The elevators stopped. The air conditioning went silent. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows in the hallways. Sophia saved her work quickly before her computer battery died. She grabbed her purse and headed for the stairwell. 40 floors down in the dark. Her legs already felt weak from sitting all day, but she had no choice. The stairwell was dimly lit by battery-powered emergency lights. Her footsteps echoed in the hollow space. By the 20th floor, her breathing was labored. By the 10th, her legs trembled with each step. She paused at the 5th floor landing, leaning against the wall. Her vision blurred slightly. When had she last eaten a real meal? When had she last had a full night's sleep? The past month had been a blur of late nights and early mornings, preparing for this crucial board meeting. The descent into darkness. Sophia pushed herself to continue. The parking garage was just a few more flights down. Her car waited there, a 10-year-old Honda Civic that had seen better days, but still got her home safely each night. The garage level was darker than the stairwells. The emergency lighting was sparse, creating pools of dim light separated by stretches of shadow. Rain poured through the open sides of the structure, creating small rivers that flowed toward the storm drains. She walked toward her car, fumbling in her purse for her keys. The sound of rain was deafening here, echoing off concrete walls and low ceilings. Her shoes splashed through puddles as she navigated between the parked vehicles. That's when it happened. The world tilted sideways. Her knees buckled without warning. Her purse slipped from her shoulder, scattering its contents across the wet concrete. She tried to catch herself, but her body had reached its limit. 2 years of putting everyone else's needs before her own, of smiling when she felt broken, of staying strong when she wanted to crumble, had finally taken their toll. Sophia collapsed in the parking garage, rain soaking through her clothes, her long black hair spreading like silk across the cold concrete. Her phone skittered away, its screen cracking against a concrete pillar. The last thing she saw before consciousness faded was the reflection of emergency lights dancing in the puddles around her. The Ice King discovers his heart, Daniel had decided, to check on the lower floors after the power outage. As CEO, he felt responsible for ensuring everyone had evacuated safely. He took the emergency stairs, his expensive Italian leather shoes echoing in the stairwell. The parking garage was the last stop on his mental checklist. Most employees had left hours ago, but he wanted to be thorough. He pushed through the heavy metal door and stepped into the dim, rain-soaked space. At first, he thought it was just a trick of the emergency lighting, something pale against the dark concrete. But as he moved closer, his blood turned cold. Sophia Chen lay motionless in a puddle of rainwater, her usually neat appearance disheveled and vulnerable. Her face was pale, almost translucent in the weak light. Her breathing was shallow but steady. For a moment, Daniel Cross, the man who made million-dollar decisions without hesitation, stood frozen. This was his assistant, the quiet woman who had organized his life for 2 years, the person he had seen every day but never really looked at. He knelt beside her, not caring that the water soaked through his expensive suit. "Sophia," he said, his voice softer than it had been in years. "Sophia, can you hear me?" She did not respond. Up close, he could see the exhaustion etched in her features, the dark circles under her eyes that she had hidden so well with makeup during office hours. Her hand was ice cold when he touched it. Daniel pulled out his phone and called 911. Then carefully lifted Sophia into his arms. She felt so light, too light, as if she had been carrying the weight of the world and forgetting to take care of herself. As he carried her toward the stairwell to meet the paramedics, something shifted inside Daniel Cross's chest. The ice around his heart, built over years of isolation and self-protection, began to crack. For the first time in his adult life, someone else's well-being mattered more than his own success, and that realization terrified him more than any business deal ever had. The first crack in the armor. The paramedics arrived within minutes, their uniforms bright against the dark garage. They worked efficiently, checking Sophia's vital signs, asking Daniel questions he could not answer. "Is she your wife?" one of them asked. No, she's my assistant, Daniel replied, then felt strange about how inadequate that sounded. Any medical conditions we should know about? Allergies? Medications? Daniel realized he knew none of these things. He knew Sophia took her coffee black, that she preferred email to phone calls, that she never missed a deadline. But he did not know if she had a family history of heart problems, or if she was diabetic, or if she had anyone to call in an emergency. As they loaded her into the ambulance, the paramedic turned to him. We're taking her to Seattle General. Are you riding with us? Daniel looked at his expensive car parked nearby, then at the woman who had been unconscious in his arms moments before. There was no decision to make. Yes, he said, climbing into the back of the ambulance. I'm coming with her. As the ambulance pulled away from Cross Industries, its red lights reflecting off the rain-soaked streets, Daniel Cross began to understand that some things mattered more than quarterly reports and board meetings. Some things mattered more than the walls he had built around his heart. And for the first time in years, he was afraid. Not of losing money or market share or competitive advantage. He was afraid of losing someone he was just beginning to realize he had never truly seen before. Tonight, the storm outside was beginning to clear, but the storm inside Daniel Cross was just beginning. The sterile smell of Seattle General Hospital filled Daniel's nostrils as he paced the waiting room. His usually perfect suit was wrinkled and damp. From the rain, his hair disheveled for the first time in years. Other families sat in clusters, whispering in worried tones. But Daniel stood alone by the window, watching the storm finally clear outside. Mr. Cross? A doctor in green scrubs approached him. She was middle-aged with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. I'm Dr. Rebecca Walsh. You brought in Miss Chen? Daniel turned immediately. How is she? Is she going to be okay? She's stable. Now but severely dehydrated and exhausted. Her blood sugar dropped dangerously low. When did she last eat a proper meal? Daniel realized he had no idea. I don't know, he admitted, feeling ashamed. She works for me, but I never asked about her eating habits. Dr. Walsh studied him with curious eyes. She's been conscious for a few minutes. She keeps asking about work, about reports that need to be finished. I had to assure her multiple times that it's 3 a.m. and no one expects her to work right now. Something twisted in Daniel's chest. Even after collapsing from exhaustion, Sophia was worried about disappointing him. Can I see her? Room 314. But she needs rest, Mr. Cross. Whatever those reports are, they can wait. The woman behind the woe. Professional mask Sophia looked small in the hospital bed, connected to an IV drip and heart monitor. The steady beeping filled the quiet room. Her long black hair spread across the white pillow, and without her usual makeup, she looked younger, more vulnerable. Her eyes fluttered open as Daniel approached. Mr. Cross? Her voice was hoarse, confused. What are you doing here? The board. Meeting is tomorrow. I need to finish the quarterly reports. Sophia, stop. Daniel pulled a chair beside her bed and sat down, something he had never done before. Usually he remained standing during conversations, maintaining his position of authority. The reports can wait. You collapsed in the parking garage. You've been unconscious for 2 hours. Her eyes widened with panic. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cause any trouble. I can still finish the work tonight if you give me my laptop. No. Daniel's voice was firmer than usual, but not cold. It carried something new. Concern. You're not working tonight. You're not working tomorrow either. You need to rest. Tears welled up in Sophia's dark eyes. Please don't fire me. I know I messed up, but I need this job. My family depends on me. I promise it won't happen again. Daniel felt something break inside his chest. Fire you? Sophia? I'm not firing you. I'm worried about you. Discovering the hidden struggles, a soft knock on the door interrupted them. A young woman with shoulder-length brown hair and paint-stained. Fingers rushed in, followed by an older woman with graying temples and tired eyes. Sophia! The younger woman rushed to the bedside. Oh my God, when the hospital called, I thought something terrible happened. Emma, I'm fine. Sophia tried to sit up, but the older woman gently pushed her back down. You are not fine, mija, the older woman said in accented English. Working yourself to death is not fine. Daniel stood awkwardly in the corner, realizing he was witnessing something private. I should go. No, wait. Sophia looked at him with pleading eyes. Mr. Cross, this is my sister Emma and my mother Maria Chen. Emma looked at Daniel with curious eyes. You're Sophia's boss? The one she talks about? Emma, Sophia warned, her cheeks flushing. What? You do talk about him. You said he's brilliant but works too much and never smiles. Maria Chen studied Daniel with the shrewd eyes of a mother who had worked 3 jobs to raise 2 daughters, alone. You are the reason my daughter comes home at midnight and leaves before sunrise? Daniel felt heat rise in his face. Mrs. Chen, I never asked Sophia to work such long hours. You never told her not to either, Maria replied quietly. The truth of her words hit Daniel like a physical blow. He looked at Sophia, who was staring at her hands folded on the hospital blanket. I wanted to do a good job, Sophia whispered. The work is important. Your company helps so many people with the renewable energy projects. I didn't want to let you down. Emma sat on the edge of the bed and took her sister's hand. Sophia, you can't save the world if you don't take care of yourself first. The weight of unspoken truths, Dr. Walsh returned to check on Sophia's progress. After examining her, she pulled Daniel aside in the hallway. Mr. Cross, I need to be direct with you. Miss Chen is suffering from chronic stress and malnutrition. Her body has been running on adrenaline and willpower for months. If this continues, she could develop serious health problems. Daniel nodded grimly. What does she need? Rest, proper nutrition, and less stress. But more than that, she needs to know that her worth isn't tied to how many hours she works. Back in the room, Daniel overheard Emma talking to her sister in hushed tones. Sophia, you missed Mom's doctor appointment last week because of work. Dr. Martinez wanted to discuss the new treatment options for her arthritis. I know. I'll make it up to her. You always say that, but when? You're killing yourself trying to take care of everyone else. Maria Chen spoke up from her chair in the corner. I never asked you to sacrifice your life for us, mija. I want you to be happy, not just successful. Daniel felt like an intruder listening to their family conversation, but he could not tear himself away. This was the real Sophia Chen, not just his efficient assistant, but a daughter carrying the weight of her family's struggles, a sister trying to set a good example, a young woman who had forgotten how to take care of herself. The ice begins. To thaw as dawn broke over Seattle, Emma and Maria went to get coffee from the hospital cafeteria. Daniel found himself alone with Sophia again. I owe you an apology, he said, his voice quieter than she had ever heard it. Sophia looked surprised. You don't owe me anything, Mr. Cross. Yes, I do. I created a work environment where you felt you had to choose between your health and your job. That's not leadership, that's failure. You didn't know. I should have known. I should have paid attention. Daniel ran his hands through his hair, destroying what remained of his perfect styling. I've been so focused on building something successful that I forgot about the people who were helping me build it? Sophia studied his face, seeing something she had never seen before. Vulnerability. The great Daniel Cross, who commanded boardrooms and made million-dollar decisions without blinking, looked lost. Can I ask you something? She said softly. Of course. Do you have anyone? Family? Friends? Someone who worries about you the way Emma worries about me? The question hit Daniel like a punch to the gut. He thought about his empty penthouse apartment, his calendar full of business meetings but no personal plans, his phone filled with professional contacts but no one he could call just to talk. No, he admitted. I don't. That must be lonely. Daniel had never thought about it in those terms before. He had convinced himself that independence was strength, that needing no one meant no one could hurt him. But sitting in this hospital room Watching Sophia's family rally around her with love and concern, he realized what he had been missing. "It is lonely," he said, and admitting it felt like breaking open a door that had been locked for years. The revelation of shared pain. "Oh, I lost my mother when I was 25, Daniel found himself saying. "She was the only person who really knew me. After she died, I decided it was easier to not let anyone get that close again." Sophia's eyes softened with understanding. "I lost my father when I was 16. He had a heart attack at work. That's when I learned that security comes from being indispensable." "Is that what you were trying to be? Indispensable?" "If I'm indispensable, you can't let me go. If you can't let me go, my family stays safe." Her voice was barely a whisper. Daniel felt his chest tighten. "Sophia, your value isn't measured by how much you sacrifice. It never was." "Then what is it measured by?" For the first time in years, Daniel Cross smiled genuinely. "By the fact that you care so much about doing good work that you forgot to take care of yourself. By the way you remember everyone's coffee preferences and birthdays. By the kindness in your voice when you answer the phone, even when you're exhausted." Tears slipped down Sophia's cheeks. "You notice those things?" "I notice everything now. I just forgot to see what mattered most." The promise of change, Emma and Maria returned with coffee and pastries from the hospital cafeteria. As they settled back into their chairs, Daniel made a decision that would change everything. "Mrs. Chen, Emma, I want you to know that Sophia will be taking at least 2 weeks off to recover. Paid leave, of course. And when she comes back, her hours will be strictly 9 to 5. "Mr. Cross, you don't have to," Sophia began. "Yes, I do. And there's something else." Daniel took a deep breath. "I want to offer you a promotion. Senior Executive Director of Operations. It comes with a significant salary increase and your own assistant." Sophia's eyes widened. "I don't understand. You've been doing the work of 3 people for 2 years. It's time you were recognized and compensated for it properly." Emma grabbed her sister's hand excitedly. "Sophia, this is amazing!" But Sophia was looking at Daniel with searching eyes. "What about you? Who's going to manage your calendar and keep you organized?" Daniel laughed, a sound that surprised everyone in the room, including himself. "I'm going to learn to do some of those things myself, and I'm going to hire someone to help both of us manage the workload better. But the board meeting is today. The reports will be perfect, because you always do excellent work. But from now on, excellent work happens during business hours, with proper breaks and with support." Maria Chen stood up and approached Daniel. For a moment, he thought she might scold him again. Instead, she placed a gentle hand on his arm. "Thank you," she said simply, "for bringing my daughter to the hospital, for staying with her, for seeing her." Daniel felt something warm and unfamiliar bloom in his chest. "Thank you for raising someone so dedicated and caring. The first step toward healing us." The morning progressed. Daniel found himself genuinely enjoying the conversation with Sophia's family. Emma told stories about her art therapy classes and her dreams of helping children process trauma through creativity. Maria shared memories of teaching Sophia and Emma to cook traditional recipes from her childhood in Mexico. "Sophia makes the best pozole," Emma said, grinning at her sister. "But she never has time to cook anymore. I remember when she was little, she would stand on a chair beside me in the kitchen trying to help," Maria added. "She was always so serious even then, always trying to take care of everyone." Daniel watched Sophia's face light up as her family shared these intimate details. This was the woman behind the professional mask, someone who loved cooking and family traditions, someone who had dreams and memories and a whole life outside the office. "What did you want to be when you were little?" Daniel asked Sophia. She looked surprised by the question. "A teacher. I wanted to teach English literature. I loved books. Stories about people finding their way home." "What changed?" "Life," she said simply. "Dad died. Mom needed help with bills. Emma wanted to go to college. Dreams don't pay for groceries. Maybe it's time to revisit some of those dreams," Daniel said quietly. For the first time since he had known her, Sophia Chen looked at him with something other than professional deference. She looked at him with hope, and Daniel Cross, the man who had built walls around his heart to protect himself from ever feeling vulnerable again, realized that sometimes the best protection came from letting the right people in. The ice around his heart wasn't just cracking anymore, it was beginning to melt completely. 3 weeks later, Cross Industries looked the same from the outside, but everything had changed within its walls. Daniel had kept his promise to transform the company culture. He hired additional staff, implemented mandatory lunch breaks, and created wellness programs. Most shocking of all, he had started walking through the office floors, actually talking to his employees. Oliver Grant, Daniel's oldest friend and board member, watched this transformation with amazement and concern. "Daniel, what's gotten into you?" Oliver asked during their weekly lunch meeting. "Last month you were focused solely on profits and expansion. Now you're asking employees about their children and offering mental health benefits." Daniel cut his sandwich thoughtfully. "I realized I was building a successful company but failing as a human being. This is about your assistant, isn't it, Sophia Chen?" "It's about all of them, Oliver. Do you know that Marcus in accounting has been working overtime every day for 6 months to pay for his daughter's medical treatments? Or that Jennifer in marketing drives 2 hours each way to work because she can't afford to live closer to the city?" Oliver raised an eyebrow. "Since when do you know these personal details about employees?" "Since I started paying attention to people instead of just productivity metrics." Sophia's new world. Meanwhile, Sophia was adjusting to her new reality. Her small apartment felt different now that she actually had time to spend in it. She had rearranged the furniture, bought fresh flowers for the kitchen table, and even adopted a small gray cat from the animal shelter. "Luna seems to like you," Emma said, watching the cat curl up in Sophia's lap as they sat on the couch together on a Saturday afternoon. "I never thought I had time for a pet before," Sophia admitted, stroking Luna's soft fur. "It's nice having someone happy to see me when I come home." Maria emerged from the kitchen carrying a tray of homemade cookies. "You look better, mija. Your eyes are brighter." "I feel better, Mom. I didn't realize how tired I was until I finally got some rest." Emma grinned. "And your boss, Mr. Mysterious Ice King? How's he doing with your promotion?" Sophia blushed slightly. "He's different than I expected. The first day back, he actually asked me how I was feeling. Not about work, about me, personally." "That's progress," Maria said, settling into her favorite armchair. "A man who learns to care about others is a man worth knowing." The unlikely friendship develops back at Cross Industries. Daniel found himself looking forward to his daily check-ins with Sophia. What had started as professional courtesy had evolved into genuine conversations. "How's Luna settling in?" he asked, one Tuesday morning stopping by her new office. Sophia's promotion had come with a spacious workspace with windows overlooking the city. "She's wonderful. She sits by the window and watches the birds. I think she's planning her hunting strategy." Sophia smiled, and Daniel noticed how different she looked when she wasn't stressed and exhausted. "I've never had a pet," Daniel admitted. "My schedule never seemed to allow for it." "Maybe that's something else that could change," Sophia suggested, gently. Daniel considered this. "What kind of pet would you recommend for someone who's still learning how to take care of himself?" Sophia laughed, a sound that had become one of Daniel's favorite parts of his workday. "Start small. Maybe a plant first." The walls continued to crumble. That weekend, Daniel found himself doing something he hadn't done in years. He went shopping for houseplants. The nursery was warm and humid, filled with green growing things and the earthy smell of soil. "Can I help you find something?" asked an elderly woman with dirt under her fingernails and a kind smile. "I need a plant that's hard to kill," Daniel said honestly. "I'm not exactly nurturing by nature." The woman studied him with knowing eyes. "Everyone's nurturing by nature, son. Some folks just need to remember how. Let's start you with a pothos. Very forgiving, and it grows toward the light." Daniel bought the plant and a simple ceramic pot. At home in his sterile penthouse apartment, the small green plant looked almost absurd on his glass dining table. But somehow, it made the space feel less empty. On Monday, he mentioned the plant to Sophia. "You bought a plant?" She looked delighted. "What kind?" "A pothos. The lady at the nursery said it grows toward the light. They're beautiful plants. Very resilient. Did you name it?" Daniel looked surprised. "Name it? It's a plant. Plants like to be talked to. It helps them grow. You're making fun of me." "I'm absolutely not. I talk to Luna all the time, and she's an excellent listener." The past meets the present. 2 months into Sophia's recovery, Daniel received an unexpected phone call. His estranged father, Thomas Cross, was in Seattle on business and wanted to have dinner. Daniel hadn't spoken to his father in over 5 years. Their relationship had been fractured since his mother's death, when Thomas had tried to push Daniel to sell the company and live a little. "I don't think that's a good idea," Daniel told Sophia when he mentioned the call. "What if he's changed? What if he wants to make amends?" "People don't change, Sophia." "Not really." Sophia looked at him thoughtfully. "You changed. 2 months ago, you wouldn't have asked my opinion about a personal matter. You wouldn't have bought a plant. You wouldn't have known that Marcus in accounting has a sick daughter." Daniel realized she was right. Maybe some people can change. Maybe some people can forgive too. The dinner that changed everything. Daniel met his father at a quiet restaurant downtown. Thomas Cross was in his early 60s now, his hair silver but his eyes still sharp. He looked tired, in a way that had nothing to do with age. "You look good, son. Successful." "Thank you for meeting me, Dad." They ordered dinner in awkward silence. Finally, Thomas spoke. "I heard about what you did for your assistant, the one who collapsed at work." Daniel stiffened. "How did you hear about that?" "I still have friends in the business community. Word gets around when Daniel Cross starts acting human." "Is that supposed to be funny?" Thomas leaned forward. "It's supposed to be hopeful. Your mother always said you had the biggest heart of anyone she knew. She worried that you'd lock it away after she died." Daniel felt his throat tighten. "You left. Right when I needed you most, you left." "I was grieving too, Daniel. I handled it badly. I thought if I pushed you to live differently, you wouldn't make the same mistakes I did." "What mistakes?" "Working so much that I missed your childhood. Being so focused on providing that I forgot about connecting." Thomas's voice was heavy with regret. "I didn't want you to wake up one day